All right, I think, can everybody hear me? Okay, cool. I think we can go ahead and get a start. We do, I think, want to go back to the regular meeting here in about, I think it's 22 or 23 minutes from now. So we've got to move a little bit quick. I'm Stephen King. I'm the breakout session host, which means I'm just going to be asking the questions. I've got a couple of great Kansas educators here to talk about K through 5 computer science. I'm going to say this has been, sorry, this has been one of my passions for a while. You know, I've watched a lot of states in this computer science effort go through and do some great stuff at the high school level, graduation requirements and so on. And the results have been sometimes really awesome and sometimes kind of lackluster. And I think I've said often that I think where other states have had lackluster results is because of a lack of focus, where to me it really counts at the K-5 level. As we've gone through, there's been some research coming out that supports this. I've actually seen actual, longitudinal data that says that kids do make the decision on whether or not they're going to be computer scientists by about 5th or 6th grade. Happened with me personally. I remember I was 10 when I ran into my first computer. I'm kind of aging myself. It was a TRS-80 when that machine first came out, and that was exciting. So anyway, all that being said, I am formerly the computer science state consultant for KSTE. I have, over the past couple months, become half of the STEM program manager section at KSTE, along with Meg Richard. And so we have an overall STEM approach, which I think is going to be very useful. I see Meg. It's kind of funny, these Zoom calls where everybody kind of filters in and jumps around, and it's like trying to take attendance in the old physical classrooms. If you allowed students to jump over desks as you were doing the attendance, it's just weird. But anyway, all that being said, I don't want to spend too much time talking, so I'm going to introduce and ask them to unmute themselves and kind of introduce themselves to the two people who immediately came to mind when I found out we got to do a little bit of Kansas talk on how to do K-5 education. I'm going to start with Jennifer. Jennifer, would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, my name is Jennifer Mahin, and I am a K through 5 STEM teacher and a technology integration specialist at East Elementary School in Belleville, Kansas.
Thank you, Jennifer. You know, I actually got invited to come out and walk into Jennifer's STEM classroom, and I saw her STEM classroom, her makerspace. My first thought was, oh my goodness, I hadn't seen that nice of a STEM or makerspace classroom in some of the high schools I've been at. So what she's accomplished is great. My second thought is kind of one of those immediate assumptions we all have, that either she had some special training or education to do that, or maybe somebody wealthy in town had the robot fairy come by and bestow, and neither one of those is true. So that's going to be one of our first discussions. The second speaker I've got here with us is Josh, one of our leading pedagogy researchers in the state. So Josh, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Josh Weese. I'm a teaching assistant professor at Kansas State University in computer science. And much like Stephen, this really is my passion. I mean, I may educate at the college level, but a lot of my research is focused on K-12. I'm from Maxville, Kansas, a middle of nowhere school with no stoplights and no paved streets. So, access to technology in the vast majority of schools in Kansas is kind of my goal, is to get that everywhere, not just in the major cities, but also rural districts and things like that. But yeah, I'm super happy to be here. Nice to see everyone here. I'm much larger turnout than I was expecting, so that's exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to say it one more time. Thank you all for being here. This is really exciting, and we're starting to get some movement in computer science in Kansas. We've accomplished we've started toward accomplishing 4 of the 5 goals the task force set out for us, and we're looking for further movement. But so this is important. Let me go ahead and ask, Jennifer, I mentioned the robot fairy coming in and sprinkling robots in your classroom, and obviously that didn't happen. So, how did you figure out what worked and what was going to go into your STEM room and your makerspace room?
So like Josh, I'm also located in a small rural school district. And And honestly, I had no background in STEM, coding, or robotics. I had gone to the Mace conference in Manhattan, and I got to go to the robotics playground, and I saw sessions where they were integrating STEM and coding into the general ed classroom. And at the time, I was a 5th grade math and social studies teacher, and I loved it. So I instantly went back and started integrating this stuff into my 5th grade classroom. We then decided we were going to start a STEM program. And I had graduated with my master's. Well, I was working on it in instructional technology. So it kind of fit that I took the tech integration role, and we also added STEM. But being in a rural district, funding is not there. So I got really lucky. We have a great economic developer in our town. And there's the Kansas Community Foundation Association that has a directory for tons of grants in your area. So our local economic developer, or you can even reach out to your chamber director, kind of showed me some local foundations. I used the Republic County Community Foundation grant, the Dane Hansen grant, and the Duclos grant. And over a period of probably 2 years, I was awarded over $20,000 to start my STEM program. That was over time through 3 or 4 grants. And I wasn't awarded that right away. There were multiple times where I applied for the grant and didn't get it. And I had to reevaluate my needs, why we needed these robotics, why we needed to start these programs in rural Kansas, or even ask them why I didn't get the grant. And then I rewrote it, focusing on the need of our district and how this would benefit us. The other question I think you asked was, how did I figure out what to order? Honestly, that was the hardest part. Starting a STEM classroom, I was learning kind of along with the students. I was not an expert. I still am not an expert, but I try. A lot of it was through trial and error. I reached out to educators on social media who were doing what I was going to be doing, and reached out to them, said, hey, what works? What doesn't work? What do you recommend? And building that professional learning network on social media was huge. It helped me figure out what we needed. They shared resources, ideas, and things like that have been very beneficial for me in creating a STEM program and creating a makerspace. The other thing, I did a lot of research. I read a lot of blogs, and then I started my own blog sharing what has worked, what hasn't worked, and what I recommend for other educators.
Thank you, Jennifer. By the way, would you mind tossing your blog? Because I get asked questions all the time from teachers across Kansas. How do I start this? How do I find funding? Would you mind tossing the link for your blog into the chat?
Yeah, I will do that right now.
Thank you. While you do that, Josh, and Josh, you were part of our efforts to write the computer science standards, both for students and more recently for the teacher endorsement. So, you get a lot of teachers who come in and really may or may not have ever touched a computer in an academic way before. So, how do you suggest teachers approach this if they haven't actually taught computer science before?
Yeah, and it's a very common thing, and most of the people that I do talk to who are teaching computer science right now are business teachers, math teachers, or teacher of XYZ other than technology or computer science that have been kind of somewhat recruited as the computer person in their school district. But really overall, it's, with most schools, it's not about trying to, dedicate yourself to teaching a computer science class or pure computer science class, but more so introducing technology, computational thinking, computer science into your existing, your specialty. So social studies, for example, ethnography, Oregon Trail sort of stuff. There's all sorts of opportunities with existing disciplines to integrate and introduce technology, and introducing technology in a way that really doesn't require a lot of expertise at all. If even basic things like Scratch, don't require a lot of content knowledge in programming with drag and drop programming languages like that to start using. because the connotation that most people attach to computer science is black screen, green text going down this ground, flowing down like the Matrix, or some person in the dark with a hoodie on, typing away at the keyboard. And that sort of thing, that connotation sometimes also applies to adults and teachers who are trying to approach introducing these ideas in their classroom. So that'd be my first suggestion is, approaching it from integration rather than trying to become a specialist or content expert in computer science. Look at how you can take technology and build that into your daily routine already, because that's what we would most people would be able to adopt and have time for, rather than trying to teach an entirely another subject that is separate from their normal classroom. Because and I know everyone's teaching loads and everything like that is full enough as it is trying to add another subject on top of that is a tall order. And also don't one thing that we've talked a little bit about here too is don't be afraid to try and not do well the first time around. And a lot of times, especially at the K-5 level, you're not going so deep into the subject that if you fail, it's not always going to be completely obvious to your students that that didn't quite work out the way you intended it to. And that's also one way to kind of learn and continue to grow in that area as well.
Thank you, Josh. Jennifer, I'm going to toss it back at you real quick. Several times when you and I have been talking about computer science, especially in K-5, you've mentioned the word fun. What do you do to make it fun, to help other teachers make it fun?
So we use a lot of different robots, different programs, and everything that I do, I make hands-on. I make it age appropriate for the students. And anytime I let the students choose, I try to add choice, creativity, and that seems to really get students involved and excited to do it. As soon as students see, the robots, they instantly are excited. But when we're not even doing that stuff, it's definitely important to let the students get creative, let the students choose which way they want to show you what they know. And I always tie it into like what they're learning or a grade level standard. And kids are just so excited to come to STEM and do the computer science and that kind of stuff.
Thank you. Josh, part of our graduation requirement thing that we got passed by the board this summer mentioned the word rigor. The courses have to be rigorous, and people assume that means hard, and it doesn't necessarily. So how do you, from your pedagogical approach, kind of balance rigor and fun?
Yeah, it's actually a really good question. And rigor comes up a lot with K-12 because there's not as much, especially, sorry, I'm still nursing a cough, which sounds why my voice is 3 times deeper than normally is. But at K-12 level in Kansas, all local control, and every school district is going to be different in whether or not they choose at the moment to offer computer science and whether or not they are following the standards that we have put out as model standards for CS, which, I mean, in general, at the high level, hopefully that produces at least some level of rigor as far as what we see as computer science. But computer science is traditionally, that rigor element has always been touted as, mostly computer programming and in some degree, like AP style of classes like AP CSA, for example. But a lot of that rigor can be found just by depending on what teachers' backgrounds are and kind of their comfort level in actually teaching the subject. So one thing that we're trying to avoid is scenarios at the high school level where a teacher is forced to just use hand a textbook off to the class and follow tutorial sort of style of teaching. We want the teacher to be able to be confident in their skills and able to deliver that material. But rigor becomes more defined at the high school level versus what we see at the K5, K8. And in that regard, rigor, it becomes much more loose. Is at the K5, especially at the K5 level, computer science becomes more exposure rather than making students content experts and things like that. So a lot of the times we look at a lot of those as mastery of skills. And if you're familiar with mastery-based learning, students are trying to acquire skills rather than trying to regurgitate information, is rather like memorization and things like that. So a lot of practical skills at that level, rather than can a student at the high school level maybe writing a for loop or while loop or some specific coding problem like on the AP exam, versus at the elementary level, where we may be looking at a student's ability to recognize iteration and being able to repeat a process and things like that. So the computer science, as you get into the younger grade levels, becomes much more abstract in the sense of rigor, and as you go up the chain towards the high school level, becomes a little bit more concrete as you approach that. But kind of answer, but rigor is still hard to measure, and I'm always cautious to focus on the idea of rigor. I would rather focus initially on getting teachers introduced and to the point where we can offer these computer science classes, and not just quote unquote computer science like digital media, or not digital media, but like typing and Microsoft Word and processing, stuff like that, which is important, but offering computational type classes like computational thinking, robotics, design, web design, things like that, things that are engaging with students and interesting to students in their real life. But once that's kind of established, you can make a lot of progress there on rigor. And I offered this course one time, and this is what didn't go well, and that reflection process can lead to a lot of great things. Sorry, I always talk too long.
That's okay, Josh. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, the reason I asked that question is fun comes up a lot. And in my first administrative job, I remember I got sent down the hall to fix a class where the more senior administrators were like, they're just having fun. And the reality is, a lot of times if we're working on robots and computer equipment and that kind of thing, it can look like we're just having fun. And the reality is sometimes we are having fun, and that's kind of cool. We are coming close on time. In the chat box, I did put mine and Meg's email address for contact if you need to. I've also put a couple links. The Union Station folks, Emily Meyer, I put her email address too. She's offering some free training for code.org's K through 5 courses, and she asked me to let everybody know that. I can certainly get you in touch with anybody else. Meg is on here. Meg is the better half of our STEM team. So Meg, did you have I didn't tell her she was going to speak, but did you have a comment or two?
Only that I am exceptionally thankful for everything you're doing to support Kansas students, and thankful for your time here today. I'll echo Stephen, whatever we can do to support you, please don't hesitate to reach out. This is the best part of our job.
Thank you, Meg. So real quick, Jennifer, Josh, any last comments?
Yeah,
Final
I have
comments.
one.
Yeah.
Especially as an elementary teacher, I think when you're coming in to teach computer science, it can be scary if you don't have if you haven't been taught how to do it, if you haven't prepared. But I think it's so important for teachers to realize that learn with your kids, start small. And even if you don't get grants in the beginning, keep trying. Everything we do in STEM, we talk about how it's okay to fail. You're going to fail, try again. And I feel like when it comes to STEM and writing grants, that's what you have to do. And even though it is scary, if you're going to conferences like MACE, there's so many resources for you on how to integrate STEM, how to integrate computer science. And by going to those and learning the information, taking those resources with you, it's great to start somewhere, even if you're not super confident with those skills.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and so I will also plug, I wanted to plug real quick as well, CSTA, and as Jennifer mentioned, conferences as kind of a continuous learning, right? No one is expected to be content experts in CS completely. If I could get one of my freshly graduated bachelor students in CS to go and teach elementary computer science, that'd be fantastic, but industry is way too enticing for them. But going and attending these conferences, and a lot of times, especially CSTA, which is one of the largest computer science education conferences that we have, is very welcoming to K-12, and there's usually travel grants involved for K-12 members who want to attend. But that experience is hands down amazing, and I would highly encourage it. CSTA is also there as well. We do have a Kansas chapter that was newly formed during the pandemic though, so they're still a little rough off getting going. But if you'd like to join, reach out to Jeffrey Yearout. I never pronounce his name right. Yearout. Ah, yes. And my email's there too. Please reach out if you're interested in doing anything CS related at the K-12 level. I would be more than happy to help get things started.
Also, December 8th, there's the CompuCon
Yes.
conference coming up, and that's another great one for computer science. So I added the thing in the link in the chat, so make sure to check that one out too. This will be the first year for that one.
Thank you, Jennifer. I really appreciate it. Hey, we are right at 3 o'clock, and I apologize. I'd hope to have a little bit of time for Q&A. If you do have any questions for me, please send them sking@ksd.org. If it's for Jennifer or Josh, let me know, and I can forward them to them directly. We really want to support computer science, and honestly, what I keep saying over and over. I said it in a meeting with the commissioner and the Kansas Chamber of Commerce CEO yesterday. Is you can have all the high schools teaching computer science classes that you want. Every single high school can have a computer science classroom, but if there's empty seats in them, what good are they? And the answer to getting kids in those seats is what you do at K through 5. And so this is so vital for us, so vital for Kansas education. I thank everybody for being here. So, oh, cool. Other links? Okay, so I think, like I said, we are off at 3, and they'd ask us to release you at 3, so you go back to the plenary session. I think they were still doing that for one final topic. So thank you all for being here. Special thanks to you, to Meg and Josh, by the way. Thank you.
Oh, for sure.